Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Caregiver Coffee Talk. My name is Matt Estrad. I'm a gerontologist in the greater New Orleans area, and I've been partnering with the Council on Aging in St. Tammany for over 5 years as a caregiver support group leader and consultant. Towards the end of this Caregiver Coffee Talk, I will talk a little bit about the caregiver support groups that meet every Tuesday virtually for right now during the pandemic, so that if you're interested, you can certainly email me some questions, and I'll be happy to tell you more about how to join the group and what we do. My email address will stay up on the screen the whole time, so you always have an opportunity to jot that down and send me any questions about the support group, or even send me questions that you would like to see me answer on Caregiver Coffee. It's always exciting to answer specific questions that you've sent in, because that means that somebody is personally going to benefit from that. Although I think the topics that we cover are interesting in itself, but if I can answer a question, it's always very nice. So today I'm going to talk about Medicare and Medicaid, and we're just talking about the basics, because I find that there are people who use those two insurance terms interchangeably when they're very different programs. And while I am not a Medicare or Medicaid specialist, certainly there are people out there that do that. I'm going to give you some basic knowledge so that you can navigate some things on your own, but also encourage you to seek assistance from these specialists in their field, whether they work for Medicare, Medicaid, or they work in the community doing consulting for this type of stuff. So we'll start with Medicare. So Medicare is a federal program, so it's these are federal dollars, and those who have it are 65 and older, unless you have certain disabilities, and those who are eligible also are those that have paid into the program by virtue of their payroll taxes while they were working. So this is prior to retirement. If you had a job, when the government takes out federal taxes, or your employer withholds taxes, like the FICA taxes, I think there might be a different name for the payroll taxes now, but when those are taken out, also when you pay your income taxes, all of that, well, not all of that, but a portion of that goes towards Medicare for the current population, but also earns you credits to receive Medicare benefits in the future after you're age 65 or find other circumstances to be eligible. And I'll kind of go back and forth between Medicare and Medicaid. Medicaid is a state-run program, so the Council on Aging is in Louisiana, and I presume that many of y'all, but probably not all of y'all are watching, are from Louisiana. But you can just, if you're not from Louisiana, you can also look to your state's website for Medicaid to find specific information. But Medicaid is a state-run program. The state budgets funds, the state determines eligibility, and typically the eligibility is going to be is going to look at your income, and it's going to look at your life or disability status. So in Louisiana, it's I don't remember. I'd have to look up exactly. I don't want to record something that I'm not certain about. But you have to earn less than a certain amount per month, and you also have to have less than a certain amount of assets in the bank when you are applying for or trying to be eligible for Medicaid. So there are some people who financially they will not be able to. They will not be eligible for Medicaid because they make too much money per month with whatever pension that they have or other kind of income. Also, they might have other properties that put them over the limit. Now, you can have some assets like in a home that won't count against you. You can also have one vehicle in your family. And when we talk about Medicaid right now, Medicaid is for low income. It's also for single mothers. It can be for people with certain disabilities and those of old age. The one that I'm focusing on today is going to be long-term care or qualifications through aging. So the other thing, so for Medicaid, there's a financial eligibility that you have to meet, and that varies on the state, and that can be found at your state's Medicaid eligibility site, and they're usually pretty good. They'll have a frequently asked questions section, or just information about eligibility, like how do I become eligible, what is an asset, what counts as income, and they'll define all these terms so you know what an asset means. Now let's talk about functional eligibility for the state's Medicaid program for aging and long-term care. So my understanding is that you have to meet what they call a level of care eligibility. Usually it's a nursing home level of care where you will be assessed on different things. It's an actual form that an assessor will go through, and if you meet this level of care or needing a level of care, you could possibly be eligible for long-term care Medicaid services. Now that could mean at least two things. It could mean that you qualify to go into a Medicaid eligible nursing home or facility, or it could be you might even qualify for a Medicaid waiver program. So the facility is pretty self-explanatory. It's a nursing home, and many of us are familiar with at least with the concept of a nursing home. That's where you live, that's where you eat, you get medical treatment, etc. So Medicaid would cover all or most of that. And then you have a waiver program. The waiver program seeks to keep eligible people inside of their own home, whether that's their own home or that they're living with someone else, but to provide services for that person so that they do not have to go into a nursing home. So you still have to qualify for Medicaid through the functional eligibility and also the financial eligibility, but the idea is to keep the person in their home. So that might mean that Medicaid would pay for physical therapy to come in or home health to come in, and in some cases personal care assistant, and so all this information, as I said, will be on the Medicaid website. So let's switch gears. Let's go back to Medicare. Medicare is the federal program that I mentioned, and where your payroll taxes go into that. So what is Medicare going to provide for you? So there are different parts of Medicare. Medicare Part A is something that that you get by virtue of those payroll dollars that you've paid into, and that pays for hospitalization, but there are limits on there. It's Medicare Part A. Medicare Part B, you can think of as outpatient services. So that's going to a clinic visit, it's going to a specialist visit. Now for Medicare Part A, typically you're paying some kind of monthly premium to have that outpatient benefit. But again, you have to look at the fine print. You have to discuss it with your family. Sometimes it's good to discuss with a financial planner to see if that's what you're going to get. Medicare Part C is known as Medicare Advantage, and in Louisiana you have Humana Gold Plus, you have People's Health, and perhaps other companies. Those are the ones that I'm familiar with. And instead of having Medicare Part A and B, you would have C. So this is an option that you have when you enroll. My understanding is you do pay a premium, but that you also get certain other services that may not normally be covered within A and B. So that's something important to check out at those particular companies' websites. I don't really want to go into the details because they may vary based on the company and based on your situation, but that's what the Medicare Part C is. Medicare Part D is a prescription drug program that may or may not be helpful to you depending on how many meds and what types of meds that you're on. So again, that's something just to check out and to understand the basic differences between Medicare Part A, Part B, Part C, and Part D. And then, of course, there's Medicaid, the state program. So I hope this information has been very helpful. I hope that you're going to research further, because if you are looking at getting Medicare Part B, Part C, Part D, you need some more information. If you're looking at Medicaid programs, it's important to look at that. And also, the last thing I want to say about Medicaid before I wrap up and tell you about the caregiver support groups is that with Medicaid, you also need to, if you're applying, and especially if you're approved, you need to find out more about the Medicaid asset recovery program, or it's something like that. So so what that means is that there are some folks, and I don't know the eligibility or who would be subject to this, but if you receive Medicaid services, whether it's a facility or it's a waiver program, there's a chance that that when the loved one who's receiving the services, when the loved one passes away, that they have to that the estate that's left behind would have to pay back that those dollars. Now, if the person, it's important to also think about if that person financially was able to get Medicaid, they may not have the assets or the estate to pay for that. But if they had their own home, I guess it's possible that they could go after the home, make someone sell the home. So just know that Medicaid may not or may have some of these things, and it's important on the front end that you see it not as a free program, but it might be a deferred loan that needs to be paid back later. So again, I'm not an expert, but these are things that are actually on the Louisiana Medicaid website that's in the FAQs or the frequently asked questions. So it's important when you're working with a Medicaid specialist, as you're trying to find out information about eligibility, that you ask about what are the chances, or under what circumstances would the family or that person's estate have to pay back the nursing home or pay back the state for any kind of waiver program or funds that were used in a nursing home or nursing facility. So important to check that out. You don't want to be surprised later, because you might make a different decision if you know you have to pay that back later on. All right, so just a little bit about the caregiver support groups. So every Tuesday, we have a group of caregivers that meet, and I facilitate that discussion, and I've been doing that for 5.5 years now, since March of 2020. This has been on the virtual Zoom format, so people do that either via video or they use their phones. Either way is whatever they're comfortable with or technologically they can do. And we have noon meetings, and then sometimes we have 6 p.m. meetings. So we just kind of, depending on what week it is, and I send emails out to everybody that has the phone-in information and the dates, the upcoming dates for that. So if you're interested in a caregiver support group, my email is on the screen right now. Please feel free to email me for information to see if the group is for you, or if it's something you definitely want to do, I'll send you the phone numbers. So, and one last note, you don't have to be a a caregiver or a care partner. If you're a family member and you just want to learn about caregiving, we welcome you to join us, and you might learn that what you can do as a caregiver for your loved one if your family needs that help. So I hope this is helpful, and please stay safe during the storm. Hurricane, as we speak right now, hurricane, or soon to be Hurricane Sally, is in the Gulf, and we're expecting bad weather here on the North Shore. But I hope that you're doing everything to be safe. Hope that you're checking on your neighbors, especially if they're elderly, to see if they need help picking up things in their yard, or to see if they need supplies or anything before the storm hits. So please be well, and I will talk with you next Monday. And I look forward to hearing you on email, matt@carepartnermentoring.com. For the Council on Aging St. Tammany, this is Matt Estrad signing off. Thanks for joining us. Bye.